This is a call from
Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Mahanoy.
This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
Hey, Mumia!
How y'all doing?
We good. We good. You see all the love?
I feel the love. Let me have some questions, and then I can try to address those issues that are most important to you.
Okay, so we're going to dive right in. Thank you for being with us today. My name is Delonte Wilkins with Link Up, and Nikichi Festa with me with People Power Action. We call you from Sankofa, a coffee shop and bookstore in Northwest Washington, D.C. Thank you for your willingness to do this live interview with us today. We are also here with HU Resist students who earlier this year took over an administrative building at Howard University in protest of university policies that put money over the interests of students. So we're happy to share this space with them today as well. Nikichi and I each have 2 questions for you, and after the call we plan to have a group discussion with all who are in attendance. Since we only have 15 minutes, if it's okay, we'll just jump right on to it. Okay. So first question. So July 26th is the anniversary of the start of the Cuban Revolution. What is your take about the role that Fidel and Che played in liberating Cuba, but also the role they played in assisting Venezuela, South Africa, and the struggle of black people in the United States?
Well, that's a mouthful. What they did, they did something pretty remarkable, and they continue doing it, is they stood up to the most powerful government in the world and refused to bow or bend. That took considerable courage and will and resources, and they did that for over 50 years, and they continue to do it today. That example itself, over time, elevated what the Cuban Revolution meant for all of Latin America and really for all of humanity, because the countries that had good relations with Washington were the countries that were invaded, the country where governors and governments and parliaments were corrupted and exploited, and places where the U.S. either staged wars or staged wars for the neighbors. And they really created really disasters everywhere they put their fingers. Cuba, by contrast, created probably the most progressive educational system on earth, a free public school system from kindergarten to doctorates and medical school. They still run a medical school for people all over the world who can come and become doctors in 6 years. 6 or 7 years. That's pretty remarkable for a country that is, money poor. But they didn't have money, but they had a lot of will. And they demonstrated that when people join together and build institutions that serve human needs, they can be pretty remarkable. And Cuba has proved that.
This is a call from
Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Mahanoy.
This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
In the United States, when people go to medical school, they get degrees to make money, to do research, and to live, a good, well-paid life. When people in Cuba go to medical school, they become doctors to help people who are mostly poor people. There are more Cuban doctors working all around the world than the World Health Organization of the United Nations. That should tell you something. And when Katrina happened, under Bush II, Cuba offered free doctors to help black people in New Orleans, and they got denied by the U.S. government.
Okay.
We appreciate your thoughts on that important question, reminding us of the history and struggle for liberation in the U.S. and around the world. Again, my name is Nikichi Feaster. I'm a representative of People Power Action. My name may sound familiar. I'm named after Nikichi Taifa. But I wanted to ask the second question. Leading up to the election of Donald Trump, including the weeks after his election, hundreds of thousands took to the streets to protest his agenda. What do you think is the next for the United States under the Trump regime, and what are your thoughts on how we can organize to counter not only his agenda, for the agenda of liberal Democrats who tout themselves as progressive alternative to Trump?
Well, I think what Trump has done is really revealed the ugly underbelly of the American empire. There used to be a saying in the 60s, perhaps in the 70s, the ugly American. Well, here it is. This is what it is. In a way, he's done a favor to a lot of people because you can see, right, nakedly with your own eyes or hear the nature of the American state. And it ain't pretty. It's pretty ugly, actually. What that means, though, is it's easier for people to understand the nature of the state. It was difficult, right, for people to see that when it's clothed in a Democrat, right, or someone who claims to be a progressive. But, you know, Democrats have helped build the prison industrial complex. You know, it was Clinton who sent billions of dollars through the crime bill and through Congress to states to build prisons. And what did they do? They built prisons. And one of the conditions of that crime bill was that you deny parole to as many people as you can, lock them up more and more and more. I mean, when we talk about juveniles, right, juvenile lifers, Pennsylvania, this relatively small state, had more juvenile lifers than any jurisdiction on the planet Earth. By that I mean countries, nations, continents even. So, you know, we're dealing with a kind of madness and craziness done in the name of democracy. So, you know, when people rebel, when they stand up, they can see these kinds of things. And if you look at and listen to Mr. Trump, you got a lot of reasons to get back into that street and continue demonstrations, protests, and building for real change, not just changing the name of a political party that belongs to the moneyed elite, like both of them do. We need new parties. We need new politics to begin to give voice to the homeless, like in Washington, D.C., and the people living in substandard housing and so forth. So, you know, without movement, there can be no movement. With movements, all things are possible. I have about a minute left.
All right. Okay. So, what is your thoughts on mass incarceration and this connection to gentrification, and what can be done about it?
Well, those things are both related because both are really wars on the poor, state wars on the poor. The only growing housing program in America is mass incarceration. And it continues to be so. They just built a prison in Pennsylvania near Greaterford costing $400 million. I mean, damn. So, you know, they can build prisons, but apparently they can't build affordable housing for the poor like Vienna can or Finland can. So, you know, this is crazy. My friends, my time has expired. I love you all. Thank you for being here. On the move. I love you.
I'm a connector by nature, and some of my connections have been with those who fought with Mumia back in the day. The woman I'm named after is an attorney, and she represented a lot of political prisoners in the 60s and 70s. One of my cousins, who's one of the elders of my family, he knew Mumia, and they fought in a lot of different ways together back in the day. So on a personal, political, this call meant a lot to me. So I hope that people will come to the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. And I don't just mean the next call with Mumia. I mean the next HU Resist action. I mean the next action that Brett has, the next action that PPA has, the next action that Link Up has, the next event that TBS throws. Whatever it is, support. Even if you have nothing to do with housing, your housing is straight and secure, but you're a part of this. Come and support. That's what I would like to see more.